Hey everyone, Tutum back from Spyral gameplay, this time with a danger list again. I love danger spirals, love playing it, so you're probably going to get a lot of videos about it. This hand is not too good, and the reason is because I'm playing a very conservative approach to dangers. I've cut like a couple of Dark Grephers and other things, like other minor extenders for cards like Call by the Grave and Forbidden Droplet. But, you know, these cards are very powerful and they're worth running, and it makes your going second game going a lot better, and your going first game better sometimes with Called by when you already have combo. Now, if this card was a Dark Grepher, or this card was a Dark Grepher, this hand's obviously way better, but I do have other starters, and dangers are starters, right? You can always start a hand off with a danger, and that's what I'm going to have to do, right? I'm not going to just normal summon Ash and do nothing, so start off with your danger. It actually might be kind of correct to normal summon Ash because you're going to want to do that eventually in a hand like this, but I think it's better just play your danger, see if you can draw into your combo, right? Because, you know, you're maybe like one Magician Souls plus a draw of 2 cards away from completely comboing off. So, you're going to open your turn up with Danger Tsuchinoko when you get a bad hand like this, and I'm going to hit Forbidden Droplets, which is fine. Card's not doing anything in this hand. And I draw into the danger, so I get Tsuchi, and Tsuchi discards itself. That's not great, but it actually ends up being okay. Like, I actually like all these cards in my hand. So, you know, at this point I have 2 monsters on the field. You got to be able to do something with 2 monsters on the field, right? And in this instance, I go into normal summon Ash, and go into Hulk. And Hulk is a +1 material, as per usual, +2 with Jet Synchron. It's the reason Jet Synchron's banned in TCG, because Hulk exists. And I'm going to use these 3 cards to go into a card you might not be very familiar with. Saryuja's Skull Dread. At least not familiar with in Spyral. This card's incredibly powerful, though a little tricky to get the payoff for sometimes. The way this card works is kind of like Appaloosa in that the more link material you put into it to make its 4 links, the more powerful it is, right? With just 2 monsters, you just get like any monster that's summoned to a zone it points to gets a 300 boost to attack and defense. That's irrelevant, so you never go into Saryuja with like 2 link 2s or a link 3 and a link 1. The minimum you're going to be doing is 3 monsters, which is what I did here. And 3 monsters is the payoff. You can special summon 1 monster from your hand. And so, behold, I have a master plan bricking my hand, but this is one of the reasons why dangers are so good. It turns cards like master plan, which are normally bricks, into good cards, right? A master plan you can special summon from your hand for free is incredible. The actual main effect that you run Saryuja for here that I'm not going to be able to show off is when you use 4 materials for it, which is actually not too uncommon in dangers to have just a bunch of, you know, dumb dangers lying around that you can turn into value. You can draw 4 and put 3 cards back in your deck. This is incredible for unbricking hands and putting Gardens back in the deck. If you want your rescues and your gears and your stuff back in your deck because you're going to get them with your master plan and quick fix anyhow, this card can get them out of your hand and back in while drawing you more extenders, more hand traps, Called by the Grave. That's the main reason you run this card, but the level 3 effect is super powerful. And I'm going to use it right here to go into Master Plan. And at this point, this kind of looks like regular combo, right? Master Plan on the field, another monster to turn to a Barricade Board blocker. And I have no qualms blowing 4 link material on Barricade Board here. Once you've gone into a link 4 monster, you're not going to be able to turn into anything else but 1 link material. So, you know, just go ahead and turn that into a Barricade Board, chain block my Master Plan, discard my Rescue. I'm going to need discards anyhow. I do have a Jet Synchron engraved, but I'm saving it for just a second. I'm going to go ahead and get Resort and Quik Fix. Play a Resort, you know, keep it tight, go get Sleeper. And I'm going to Rescue Mission, bring back Master Plan so I can go get my Assault. I'm going to need Assault in a second. I'm going to use a quick Jet Synchron, go figure, to get Assault in the graveyard. Just Jet Synchron's so good. Just play Jet Synchron, everyone. It's so good. Use Assault to special summon Quik Fix and go get Big Red. At this point, I go ahead and use my my Jet and my Master Plan to go into Borreload. I'm always doing this. Like, there's no world where I don't use Jet Synchron and Master Plan to get into Borreload. The downside of me doing it this early is I haven't gone into my Curious yet. I'm going to go into Curious in this setup, and Curious is a better equipped to Borreload because if it gets sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, or because of the result of an opponent's card effect, you get a card back from your graveyard, which is super powerful. It's like if your opponent outs your Borreload Savage Dragon, you get a card. That's great. But I'm just going to do it early because, like, I'm already, like, past Nibiru limit, and if my opponent's, like, being really clever and trying to hit me at a really bad spot, I don't want to get caught, so I just go ahead and make the Borreload, and I'm going to hit the Nibiru if it happens, right? So go ahead and bring back Master Plan with Rescue Mission, get another Rescue Mission, the usual. I am going to go into Double Helix here. This is not too great. I have no way to get into Drone, right? I've used up my Assault Mission and my normal summon, and there's just no way for me to stack my opponent's top of the deck. I did have an option, if I wanted to use Resort to get Super Agent, and then use Super Agent to call the top card, which would turn on Helix. But the only thing that would do is I would have to use Helix to go get Sleeper anyhow because I value Sleeper in my inboard. So it might have been better to do that because I was still going to get Sleeper no matter what in that situation, and then I would just have an extra Super Agent in my hand, which is something, and if I nail it correctly, I get +1 material. So that's like an option I could have gone with, but I just like to get Sleeper to play tightly. Like, that's a habit of mine. So, like, in this situation in the future, I might go get Agent because I know I'm going to be able to get my Sleeper off my double Helix. But I think I do a better play here, and if I'm going to blind call, I'm going to blind call with Helix, so I can get Drone into play. I always call Monster in the blind because Monsters are the most commonly played cards in the game, and I hit a Kaiju, and I really wanted to go into Drone here because once I saw that Kaiju, because I don't want them having a Kaiju, that's an instant answer to my Borreload or my Appaloosa, right? Those are critical cards on my board. So I go into Drone so I can stack my opponent's deck. My opponent's deck was Monster Reborn, Forbidden Droplets, Kaiju, so I put Monster Reborn on top because Forbidden Droplets obviously can out a lot of my cards, and a Kaiju can out any of my cards, and I don't like that. I bring back Quik Fix, get Last Resort, use Rescue, bring Master Plan. Now I can turn my Drone. I could have used Quik Fix to do this, but I turned my Drone into a Link Kuriboh, so I can go into Curious. Curious is kind of hard to summon in a lot of situations, but it's not as hard and dangerous because you have a lot of varying types of Dark Monster. But, you know, Cybers plus Machine plus Spellcaster, and they're all Dark. That lets you get into Curious. And we use Curious to go into Destrudo. Destrudo is actually pretty cool here, and I can show off a little piece of tech that Destrudo enables just on its own as long as you got a level 1 creature. As you know, this deck runs on level 1 creatures, like Quik Fix and Magician Souls. And now, normally what you do is you use Destrudo to summon itself to go into Halka to get Jet Synchron, or maybe do an Auroradon play if you're playing Auroradon. This deck isn't. But just these two, like just Destrudo and any monster, because Destrudo always represents a level 7 Synchro if you like use it on a monster with the monster. I can go into Dawn Dragster, F.A Dawn Dragster. Now, you don't see this card a whole lot in Spyral decks for a good reason, like how else are you going to make it, right? But this is a kind of fun piece of tech that Kevin OG clued me into. So, with the Danger Curious list, you're frequently able to just leave Halka on your inboard. And so we're running a card called Desert Locust, which is when it's summoned, the turn player discards a card. So you can pass to your opponent with a Halka Firebrax on the board, activate its effect to special summon a tuner, which it is, Synchro monster, and make them discard a card randomly. Or not randomly, they get to choose. And usually that's your Drone target, like the card that you put on top of their deck with Drone, but sometimes it isn't, right? A discard to discard. It also has an effect that once per chain during your opponent's main phase, you can immediately use this card to make a Synchro summon. So you could turn Desert Locust plus your leftover Drone or leftover Quik Fix into Dawn Dragster. But the nice synergy here is the Dawn Dragster is immediately makeable off Destrudo, like I just showed you, right? It's like layers of utility here out of my tech cards. And like multiple ways to go into them. Now I'm just going to go ahead and link these two off into Appaloosa. Now, there was another line of play. Instead of going into Curious and this Dawn Dragster play, I could have just thrown all of those materials into a 4-material Appaloosa, right? That would have given me technically one more interaction, or 2 more interactions. I would have had 2 more monster negates. But I really highly value spell negates, especially because I know my opponent's drawing a Monster Reborn right now, and I might need to negate that depending on what my opponent does. So I go ahead and drop Sleeper, equip Last Resort, and set 2 and pass. So, you know, with a pretty scuffed hand, right, just a Danger and a bunch of bricks, I got into Appaloosa for 2, Sleeper, Spell Negate, Omni Negate, and I still have Call By, and I've got a Rescue Mission left over. So, like, if my opponent does out my board, my Sleeper's going to trigger. I can use Rescue Mission in response to get my Sleeper back in my hand. I've got plenty of Spyral names in Graveyard. I would have a Resort and the Rescue Mission and the Last Resort in Graveyard, so I can get my Sleeper back. And yeah, I could just drop Sleeper again next turn. So like I have good follow-up because Rescue Mission would be in the grave with a Sleeper in hand. I'd summon a Super Agent. I have really good cards on board. So it's my opponent's turn, and they're going to draw Monster Reborn, funnily enough. And then they're going to use Urgent Schedule. So my opponent is playing the level 10, the Earth Machine deck, right? They're not all level 10s, but most of them are. It's the Earth Machine deck. So this is like a kind of quick starter for the deck. If your opponent controls more monsters, they'll just summon an Earth Machine, level 5 or lower. They're going to get the level 4 one that can burn, but it's just a body to go into Link plays. And then it has like if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one level 1, a level 10 monster from your deck, which is pretty neat. And then in response to my F.A Dragster, obviously I'm going to use Dragster on their starter. That's a great card to use. My opponent chains Forbidden Droplets for 4. And like, okay, wow. Right? My opponent stopped and thought about this play for like a minute before they did it. And I think they were like going, okay, can I combo if I negate every card on this board just to make sure nothing weird happens, even though this card's already being used? If I negate every card on this board, can I still combo? And it looks like he can, right? Because he is going to make sure his starter resolves by negating my Dragster. So he's going to have 1 card in hand plus his starter. That gets to the Citadel, that gets it to his rail car, and then he's got this field spell in hand, right? So now he can link these 2 off for, I forget the name of it, it's like the Knuckle Machine, yeah, double-headed Anger Knuckle or whatever. And this card can special summon a level 10 Machine Monster from your graveyard in defense, but negates effects, right? And if this card is in your graveyard, you can send 1 card from your hand. That doesn't do anything, right? He's just going to get a level 10 Machine Monster and probably try to attack over something. I don't know, but, well, it's in defense mode, so it doesn't do anything. Regardless, I have Called by the Grave. I Called by the Grave as target. That's an obvious answer, and my opponent's got no cards left but a useless field spell. Oh yeah, this is what he was trying to do. So I was trying to turn on this field spell. That makes sense. But here we go. Yeah, I win. Woohoo! After a really scuffed hand. Now my opponent wasn't playing like a top tier meta deck or anything. It didn't have any hand traps, but I had Called by the Grave for the hand trap anyhow if they had it, unless it was an Nibiru. And I kind of pseudo played around Nibiru by going into an early Borreload. And yeah, that's a pretty solid board off of just Tsuchinoko as the only card in my hand that did anything. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you like the fun pieces of tech like Desert Locusts, F.A Dawn Dragster, and like just how good Tsuchinoko can be, alright? Have a good one, guys. See you next time.